Yeah, if we zoom out just a hair to the GDP figures that were released, seeing that decline of 30 basis points or 0.3%, if you kind of dig in there, a lot of that was caused by government spending decreased by 0.25%, which I think is a really good thing and hopefully, continues.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to Watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. After a month-long hiatus, traveling the world, Europe and Asia, I am back, energized and ready to do this. We got some job numbers, just came out. Markets have been crazy while I've been away. We're talking with Ted Thatcher. And Ted, great to have you back on the show. So what about these job numbers? Is it just part of the continuing narrative or is it real?
A great question, Kerry. It's always good to be with you and to see you again. Honestly, the numbers came in really close to expectations, and really we're just getting more of the same. The unemployment rate still sits at 4.2%. The non-farm payrolls basically show $177,000 jobs that were created, basically, again, keeping that number kind of status quo. My eye always goes to the revisions, which, of course, we're getting more of. And then it just tells you again and again, the way they collect this data is so convoluted and it's so old school now. Marches were revised down to $185,000 from the $228,000 that were, or $228,000 that were originally printed.
Right.
And then February was even revised further down to $102,000.
102, which is like barely treading water here, but it's no wonder with all these federal employees getting shown the door, right?
Well, sure, yeah. And, when you walk through those federal buildings, you see nothing but empty desks anyway. So, of course, it begs the question as to what was getting done, if anything. And so, interestingly, even if we zoom out just a hair to the GDP figures that were released, seeing that decline of 30 basis points or 0.3%, if you kind of dig in there, a lot of that was caused by government spending decrease by 0.25%, which I think is a really good thing and hopefully, continues.
Yeah, well, that was our first, right? Pretty remarkable seeing government spending drop by anything.
Well, right. It usually only goes one direction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's always there's another thing to buy, another thing to pay for. And, the light that was shown on everything with USAID, I think, really has a lot of Americans, thankful that there's somebody keeping an eye on the waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah. Yeah, for the first time ever in our lifetimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen these, I guess trends toward it or talking points. There's a little bit that was done around Reagan, even, Clinton. At times it's been a bipartisan priority to, cut government spending, or at least keep an eye on it. But I think that the light that's being shown on it now, hopefully is actually, well, hopefully it actually permeates and doesn't tread backwards now that Elon is stepping out of the picture.
Yeah, I think Elon wasn't actually doing the work there. And guys like Big Balls, even though this is a family show, that's his name. He was doing the heavy lifting. And there's a lot of like CEOs involved, people I wouldn't have expected to be, who, from tech companies.
Yeah.
It's like, look, if you got a case of amnesia, and you wanted to figure out where you spent all your money for the past year, what would you do? You'd go look at your check register, right? And figure out where the money came from and where it went. And I think they're just at the tip of the iceberg here, honestly, Ted.
I think so. And I think, interestingly, this efficiency initiative has gotten such a politicized this gotten way too politicized a coverage. Again, this should be what American is interested in, sweeping all this waste, fraud, and abuse under the rug. I don't talk to anybody that has an issue with it, but it seems like there's a fever pitch about whether we should be doing this or not. Sure, of course, there's some things that the government spends money on that are positive, but when it's so widespread, that's where the issue comes. And I do think that, there's only one response to anything Trump does for a lot of people out there, and that is just only a criticism. And I think we have to take a step back and actually say, okay, let's evaluate the things that are being done and that have changed. Obviously everybody even talks about, of course, what's going on with tariffs. And, they every time the market ticks down even one basis point, they want to criticize Trump for it, but they won't give him any of the credit either on the good days.
Yeah. Yep. Could not agree with you more. And kind of exciting to see it actually happen. I never believed we would live to see the day. And it just shows you how corrupt the whole thing is, with all of those people screaming and, wanting to end Doge for the benefit of the public. I mean, come on.
Yeah, for the benefit of the public. That's tongue in cheek, right? Coming out of Washington, D.C. Sometimes it's for the benefit of the special interests, right? I mean, I mean, we'll see if we can get some more clarity on these trade deals too. I think hopefully it's often been cited by the administration as a negotiation tactic to get these countries to come to the table. And, there's some estimates that are now being shown, because they've made some progress here on these trade deals, that it could be as much as $1 trillion now already, with commitments of investments back into the United States. And I think that that's a really good thing as well.
Amazing, huh? Really amazing. So, what do you think is next? We're going to see these trade deals, and we're going to see positive steps towards really reining in the government and making it fulfill its constitutional duties?
Well, I don't know if I'm that hopeful that every single one of our dreams might come true. I do think that there's going to, hopefully this Doge initiative continues, that there's oversight and overspending, right? In terms of what's actually next with the trade deals, I think what the market has been dealing with really throughout this whole, everything that's happened since April 2nd is just a very high level of uncertainty. The market, it just hates not knowing what to expect. And so when we have the high tariffs and then they get dropped back down and then the spotlight gets placed on China, it just is trying to figure out how to price it all in. And so what's next is pen to paper on these trade deals. The market needs to see them in action so that it can stabilize, so that it can properly price in all of this, what has been uncertainty, and make it, basically come back to normal. Also, in terms of what comes next, I think everybody's got their eye on Jerome Powell this week, especially after all the criticism he's earned from the president. And honestly, I think Powell has faced a tremendous amount of political pressure and honestly societal pressure for pressure to lower, of course. And I don't honestly think that we're going to get it this week.
Yeah, well, banks don't make enough money, right?
Yeah, we should talk to Jamie Dimon about that after the earnings. Jeez. We'll see what they do. I don't expect Powell to lower. I think given the labor data we got, given, the GDP figure that we've got, he just isn't going to show the data that he wants to see, and honestly, if I had to guess, if you made me predict something, I think we're more likely to see Trump call him Mr. Too Late yet again.
Better late than never.
Well, we'll see when the time comes, right? Better late than never. But he's, I think, earned that criticism. I think it's very obvious that Powell waited too long to raise interest rates. I mean, you remember it was March of 2022 before he started raising, and inflation was raging in a far gone over conclusion at that point.
So true. Hey, and it's he's caught on tape where a Fed insider is caught on tape saying how much he despised Trump, which there's shock. because the ultimate deep state institution, really the first one perhaps, is the Fed. And to think that he hates Trump, there's gambling going on here, right?
Oh, yeah. Surprise, surprise. I mean, I think that there's been a lot of infighting. Honestly, I don't think the market likes it. Obviously you saw the volatility when Trump criticized him. The truth is I think if they can make the data case, and I think that it does exist, that it's time to start softening rates, then, I think honestly, not only would the administration be happy, but I think most Americans would. Most Americans, 60%, carry a credit card balance. And think about just the relief that would have on normal, hardworking, everyday American.
Hey, you know what I would love to see?
What was that?
I would love to see the administration put a cap on credit card rates.
Yeah, sure.
Because,
I think, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, there's no justification for rates being this high. Certainly not for non-defaulted debt. Hey, it defaults, sure, like 30% a year, but this is just exploitative, and it really doesn't do anyone any good. So what it does is enables people to buy stuff that they don't need from companies that don't make it in this country.
Sure. I think it puts people behind the eight ball. And that's the other thing I think is it does rob a lot of Americans from an opportunity at the American dream. How can you be hopeful and excited when you're drowning in a 30% APR? You can't.
You're a debt slave.
Well, exactly. I think that's a good way to put it, sadly. I will say this too. Not to go back to the tariffs, but I think it's interesting enough that you have such a drastic shift in economic policy, with these tariffs getting thrown into sort of the world trade routes as a toll booth. And, if you look at where the market's at off of its high, it's literally only off 7%. Now, obviously, that's a big move, but that's from the high, much less from the quote unquote Liberation Day on April 2nd. And that really is only, I want to say, it depends on where the market's at, at the very moment, but around 4% off. 4% off the all-time high. And we have a new spotlight on these trade imbalances.
Mm-hmm.
The administration didn't lie to us. They said that there was going to be a little bit of medicine that had to be taken. And, if we zoom out after another 9 months or year, and this is all we had to pay for it, I think that there's an argument to be made that Americans are getting a good deal there.
Financial enemas are never pleasant.
No. Yeah, no, there's a little bit of a pain to go with the gain, right?
Yeah, well, to be expected. All right. Hey, Ted, just tell us again where we find you, how we connect with you on the web.
Yeah, sure. Easy to find. Our website, brightlakewealth.com.
All right. Links in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. If you go there, please sign up for your free newsletter. We're up to 80,000 already. You can believe it. And hey, we'll send you out some good info, and you'll be happy you did. Ted, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.